जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। गोपी जना बल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। गोपी जना बल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरहत श्री श्री डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन बीडी फाउंडर आचार्य डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरहत श्री श्री डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्तिदान सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य शील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रज वृंदावन धाम की जय। मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा मई जमुना मई की जय। भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। पतित पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। मोस्ट मर्सीफुल लॉर्ड श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी श्री गौर निताई की जय। गौर परमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees हरे कृष्ण। ऑल ग्लोरीज ऑल ग्लोरीज श्री गुरु and गौरांग गौर हरि बोल। ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओं नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, text 31, chapter 31, text 20. अपहत सकलेशनाम अमला अपहत सकलेशनामलात्मा अपहत सकले क्षणामलात्मा न्यवीरतमेजित भावनोपहूता अविरातम एजित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वम आत्मनोज्ञ निज जन वश गतम आत्मनो यन् न सरति छिद्रावद अक्षर सताम ही न सरति छिद्रावद अक्षर सताम ही अपहत सकले सणा अमलात्मम अविरतम एजित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वम आत्मनो यन् न सरत छिद्रवत अक्षरम सताहि अपहत सकले शरणाम अमलात्मा अविरतम एजित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वम आत्मनो यन् न सरत छिद्रवत अक्षर सताम ही शरणात्मनि अविरतम एजित भावनोपहूता सरति छिद्रवत अक्षरम सताहि अलाहतात्मनि अविरत एदित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वनात्मनो या न सरच्छिद्रवदक्षरां सतां हि सकलेशनामलात्मनि अविरतम एदित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वनात्मनो यन् न सरच्छिद्रवदक्षरं सताहि माताजी अपहत सकलेशनामलात्मनि अविरतम एदित भावनोपहूता निज जन वशगत्वनात्मनो यन् न सरच्छिद्रवदक्षरं सताहि. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Being completely cleansed of all material desires, the devotees are freed from all material contamination. Thus, they can always think of the Lord constantly and address Him very feelingly. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing Himself to be controlled by His devotees, does not leave them for a second, just as the sky overhead never becomes invisible. Purport. It is clear from the previous verse that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana, is very quickly satisfied by the activities of his devotees. The pure devotee is always absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated, Shunatam Sakatha Krishna, by always thinking of Krishna, the pure devotee's heart is freed from all kinds of desire. In the material world, the heart of the living entity is filled with material desires. When the living entity is cleansed, he does not think of anything material. As the mind is completely cleansed, one attains the perfectional stage of mystic yoga. For then, the yogi always sees the Supreme Personality Godhead within his heart. Dhyanam bhastitadgatayena manasa paschanti yoginaha. As soon as the Lord is seated in the heart of the devotee cannot be contaminated by the material modes of nature. As long as one is under the control of the material modes, he desires so many things and makes so many plans for material sense enjoyment. But as soon as the Lord is perceived in the heart, all material desires vanish. When the mind is completely free from material desires, the devotee can think of the Lord constantly. In this way, he becomes completely dependent upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ainanda tanuja kinkaram pachitamam visame bhavam budho krupaya tava pada pankajasita dhuli sadrisam visintaya. My dear Lord, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of material world. Kindly pick me up and fix me as the speck of dust at your lotus feet. Sikhastakam 5. Similarly, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, Ha ha Prabhu Nanda Sutta, Vrishabhanu Sutta Jutta, Karuna Karai Vara, Narottam Das Kae Natheliho Ranga Pai, Toma Vina Ke Ache Amara. My dear Lord, you are now present with the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, Srimati Radharani. Now, both of you, please be merciful upon me. Don't kick me away because I have no shelter other than you. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes dependent on his devotee. The Lord is invincible, yet he is conquered by his pure devotee. He enjoys being dependent on his devotee, just as Krishna enjoyed being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yasoda. Thinking himself dependent on the devotee gives the Supreme Lord great enjoyment. Sometimes a king may engage a joker, and in this process of joking, the king is sometimes insulted. The king, however, enjoys these activities. Everyone worships the Supreme Lord with great reverence. Therefore, the Lord sometimes wants to enjoy the chastisement of his devotees. In this way, the relationship eternally existing between the Lord and his devotee is fixed, just like sky overhead. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanitamsa Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतां श्रुतो पंगो ममंदामतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्व पदाम्बोज राधा मदन मोहनम दिव्य वृंदारण्य कल्पद्रुमादो श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्री श्री राधा शील गोविंद देवो पृष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भे वंशी बटा तटस्थिता कर्षण वेणु सुनिर्गोपी गोपीनाथ श्रीअस्तुना नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरदुषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतार भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिगं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कंकरोति वाचालं अंगुलंघायते गिरि यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दीनतारिणे परमानंद माधव श्री चैतन्य ईश्वर हरे कृष्ण टुडे by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality Godhead, all of us are assembled over here to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam, to discuss the scripture together for our purification. Before doing so, I seek sincerely the blessings and permission of His Grace Anandamaya Prabhu and all eloquent Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis over here, so that together we can endeavor to purify our consciousness. Srila Sanatana Goswami writes a wonderful prayer slokas to glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we approach Bhagavatam, we will offer those prayers following the footsteps of Sanatana Goswami. सर्वशास्त्राब्धि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्पदा सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिध्वंतादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता. This is very wonderful chapter where we find the wonderful historical narration of the instruction of Narada Muni to Prachetas. And subsequently, after this instruction, we read how the Prachetas attain the supreme ultimate goal of life. This great sage Narada Muni is the benedictor who gives the benediction for every single personalities, provided that the person is ready to receive. He starts his preaching even from the embryo stage and continue till the advanced stage of persons like Prachinna Baris. Everybody, through his influence, through his special blessings and benediction and instructions, attain perfection as far as their sincerity and seriousness is concerned. So, in this purport, we see Srila Prabhupada starts with a very wonderful word called Supreme Personality Godhead Janardana is mentioned in previous verse. And he gives the meaning of Janardana is who very quickly satisfied by the activities of his devotees. Yesterday we were hearing a wonderful narration by the wonderful devotee. He gives a very spontaneous, wonderful class. And what are the very special way to attain perfection, pleasing Supreme Personality Godhead in 3 different ways. And if the devotees are eager to satisfy the Supreme Personality Godhead in those 3 different ways, then definitely the Lord will be pleased. And that is how he is called Janardhan. From all time to come, from the ages, the devotees are always eager to please the Supreme Personality Godhead by following those steps mentioned in the previous verse. Daya sarvabhuteshu santushta jena kenava Sarvendriya Upasantaya. Tushyanti Janardana. Tushyanti Asu Janardana. Tushyanti Asu. Quickly, he'll be very quickly satisfied. And then Prabhupada says that pure devotees are always absorbed in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How the pure devotee is always absorbed? It is mentioned throughout the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Literally, you find in every single canto there are the description of pure devotees, how they are completely absorbed in thought of Supreme Personality Godhead. We'll see in the, and this is not only been told by Sukadeva Goswami like that. Even Sukadeva Goswami says that the great devotees says about this. One devotee says about the other's glorification. How the other pure devotee is glorifying or engaged in thought of Supreme Personality Godhead constantly. We see from Srimad Bhagavatam, Gajendra says that in the wonderful verse, अत्याद्भुतं तं चरित्रं सुमङ्गलं गायन्ति आनन्दसमुद्रमग्नि एकान्तिनः यः न काञ्चनार्थं वाञ्छन्ति ये वै भगवत्प्रपन्नाः. These devotees, they have ekanti. They have only one pointed goal. They have no other desire. They are no kanchana artha. They are not looking for any gold or any rubies or metal, special metals or special wealth. Not even the wealth, not even the artha, money. But what they are looking for? Vanchanti evai bhavat prapanna. They desire to take shelter of the Supreme Personality Godhead, surrender unto Supreme Personality Godhead. And because they wanted to do that, the Supreme Personality Godhead, being Paramatma in their heart, he facilitates. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that as you come, as you surrender unto me, so I am available for you. And these devotees are given up everything and ready to take shelter of Krishna. That is why Krishna is giving them full. How is giving them full? In the way that they release Krishna's association. Atyadbhutam tam charitram sumangalam gayanti ananda samundramagni. Very, very special, astonishable pastimes of the Supreme Personality Godhead, which is auspicious also. Atyadbhutam tam charitram sumangalam. And they are singing gayanti. While singing, they drown themselves into the ocean of bliss. Ananda samundra. Drown themselves in the ocean of bliss. In this world, every single living entity is looking for happiness, which is an insignificant part of bliss. Bliss cannot be considered happiness. Bliss is something very, very superlative degree from happiness. The living entity is running behind to get a minute level of happiness, whereas Krishna's pure devotees, because they are constantly thinking of Krishna, they are drowning themselves in the ocean of bliss. And then Prabhupada says that how it is happening? Because their heart is freed from all kinds of desires. And Prabhupada says in the metal world, the heart of the living entity is filled with metal desires. And because it is filled with metal desires, they have to cleanse that metal desire. Bhagavatam in the beginning only tells how to clean the heart. Shunantam Sukatha Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana. When you hear about Krishna, it will cleanse your heart. How it cleans? The next line it says Vijunoti Shrut Satam. It's not only Dhunoti. Dhunoti means cleansing. It's Vijunoti. Vishesha Rupena Dhunoti. That means perfectly cleaning. Just by hearing Krishna Katha. And then every single day by the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada's teaching, we are reciting all together. Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvarpanam Sreya Kairava Sandrika Vicharanam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Ananda Ambudi Vardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Aswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, one will cleanse the mirror-like heart. We see these scriptures and these literatures given the Supreme Personality Godhead directs us. Let's see how merciful the Supreme Lord. How the living entity comes to this material world. Krishna Rabhuliya jiva bhogavansha kare nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare. As soon as the living entity forget Krishna and wanted to desire to separately enjoy from Krishna, nearby Maya catches the living entity. And that's how he comes to material world. But Krishna, being merciful, being the constant companion and well-wisher of living entity, he is the only well-wisher of Krishna, living entity, for all time to come. Surudam sarvabhutanam gyantvang mam santim ruchati. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he is the only well-wisher friend of every living entity. Such a friend, he comes along with every living entity, irrespective of what are the species of life one may receive. And not only comes and remain in the heart of Chaitya Guru, Paramatma, but also he arranges the wonderful literatures to be available for the human species of life, so that they can study, they can hear, and they can discuss, and they can determine to get purified, and then continue to endeavor to get purified. And not only that, he sends his pure devotees who inspires them, uplift their consciousness, encourage them to go ahead and get purified and come back to me. We see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the chapter where Madhilada, where the pastime of Lord Jagannath has been describing as Rasgatara. Before that, there is some wonderful festival taking place, which is called Gundicha Marjan. In Gundicha Marjan pastime, Srila Prabhupada writes the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Mahaprabhu was cleansing the Gundicha temple, he cleansed it twice. First, he cleansed the big particles, straws and big dust particles. And then he cleansed the finer particles. He cleansed twice. It is described in Prabhupada quotes from Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur. Living entity's heart is just like the temple of Gundicha, which was there before cleanse. That was Abhilasa Purna, full of material desires. And then, by the special process given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of cleansing Gundicha temple, by chanting the holy name of the Lord Hari, it is described that every single devotee who while cleansing, they were only discussing, talking, and hearing only one word, Hari, Hari. That is the only word through which they communicate, do anything and everything, and everybody receives and gets what has been asked, what has been given. So through that chanting and through that process of cleaning, they could clean the Gundicha temple thoroughly under the guidance and leadership of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that they made Anya Abhilasa Purna heart to Anya Abhilasata Shunya heart. When that temple sanctum sanctorium becomes completely cleansed, Supreme Personality Godhead, the Purna Purushottam Bhagavan Sri Jagannath established there, came and sat over there in the Ratna Singhasan. That is how the Rupa Goswami says that Anya Abhilasata Shunya Jnana Karmadi Anamritam Anukulyen Krishna Anusevana Bhakti. Through that pure devotional service, Krishna will everlasting reside in the heart of the devotees. One may say, but for every living entity, Krishna is there in the heart. Yes, Krishna is there in the heart, but devotees don't, people in general, the living entity doesn't realize Krishna's presence. When the heart is completely cleansed, Krishna will be perceived in the heart of the devotees. As of now, the people in general, those are not practicing pure devotional service, even though Krishna is there in the heart, they don't perceive the Lord. The Lord is sitting there, but there are a lot of disturbances. But when there is pure devotional service being executed by the devotee, the Lord can sit without disturbances. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, when living entity is cleansed, he does not think of anything material. As the mind is completely cleansed, one attains perfectional stage. When the heart has been cleansed and mind is cleansed, Then one attains perfectional stage. And Srila Prabhupada says, what is the perfectional stage? Dhyanam vaschatadgataina manasa paschanti jang yoginah. He will see the Supreme Personality Godhead in his heart. Here the word mana is referred to heart. Sometimes mana refers to heart, sometimes mana refers to mind. So once the mind is completely, or heart is completely free from material desire, he becomes perfect yogi, and then he can see the Lord within the heart. When one constantly thinks of Lord, one becomes completely dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the lotus feet of the Lord. How one can become completely dependent on Supreme Personality Godhead? Not only through thinking, but also in his acts. He will do his best, but leave the rest for Krishna to achieve Krishna's mercy and have full faith in Krishna. Not that, okay, I did it and I don't know if Krishna will do or not. Let me know whatever Krishna does. Not that. The pure devotee has full faith in Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Instruction, Avashya rakhive Krishna, a Vishwas. Krishna will definitely protect me. This is what called Vishwas or faith. And Srila Prabhupada writes over here, how one can experience the dependency on Krishna's lotus feet. Again, he quotes from Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikhyastakam, verse 5. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitamang vishame bhavang budho krupayata pada pankajasita dhuli sadrusam vichintaya. My dear Lord, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of metal world. Kindly pick me up and fix me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. And this is the feeling of a pure devotee who is completely dependent on Supreme Personality Godhead. And he doesn't want to get out of the dependency. He wants to come eternally dependent on Krishna. For that, Srila Prabhupada quotes another Vaishnava song from Narottam Das Thakur's Vaishnava song. And that, Aha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vrishabhanu Sutta Jita Karuna Karai Bara Narottam Das Kai Natheli Haranga Pai Tomabina Ke Ache Amara. I have nobody else. Who else can be there other than you? Please don't throw me away from your reddish lotus feet, my dear Lord. And you are always along with Vrishabhanu Sutta Srimati Radharani. Together you can kindly bless me. I would like to remain at your lotus feet as a dependent person forever, for eternity. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, there are 6 limbs of Saranagati, taking shelter of Supreme Personality God or surrender to Lord in 3 different ways. It is written in Sanskrit verse, Anukulya Sankalpa Particular Savarjanam, Rakhishati Vishwasa Gotrutne Varanatatha, Atma Nikhepa Karpanya. These are the 6 stages. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes very simple Bengali poem. He starts from last. He says that Dainyatma Nivedana Gotrupta Barana Avashya Rakhive Krishna Vishwasa Palana Bhakti Anukula Matra Karyera Svikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Varjana Angikara. Next class in this way. Karpanya is Danya, or Karpanya is same, humility. And then Atmanikhepa or Atmanibhadana is same, surrendering completely at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality God. And Gotrutva Varana means accepting Krishna is the only maintainer. Rakhashyati Vishwasam, Krishna will definitely protect me. And then Pratikulena Varjanam or Anukulena Sankalpa, that anything or any activity which is Anukula, which is in the way that pleasing to Krishna, that I should accept, nothing, no other activity. And Pratikulasya Varjanam, which is not pleasing to Krishna, I will give up those activities. And this is how one can accept shelter or take the shelter of Supreme Personality Godhead. And then we see that Prabhupada writes, in this way, the Supreme Personality Godhead becomes dependent on his devotee. And the Lord is invincible, yet he is conquered by his pure devotee. He enjoys being dependent on his devotee, just as Krishna enjoyed being dependent on the mercy of Mother Yashoda. When a devotee takes complete shelter of Krishna, not only devotee drowns himself in the ocean of bliss, but also Krishna releases the devotee's activity or devotee's service. And Krishna wanted to release more by being the servant of his devotee. That pleases Krishna more. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhilila, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while instructing Rupa Goswami, there are two special parts of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Siksha and Sanatana Siksha. Very, very special. And by those teachings, today we have number of books written by those two special Goswamis as per the instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. While giving the instruction to Rupa Goswami, Mahaprabhu says that he describes how the living entity is suffering this world. He starts from the beginning and then how he can practice the devotional service and through devotional service how one can purify oneself, and when one purifies himself, he will through the Vaidhi Bhakti process gradually attain to pure love of Godhead. And when he attains pure love of Godhead, there are 5 different primary rasas through which he will be related to Krishna. And not only the devotee will be related to Krishna through those 5 different rasas, but also Krishna releases devotees association through those rasas. And there he explains, because we have lack of time, we'll describe only 2-3. We'll describe Sakhya Rasa. In Sakhya Rasa, devotee experience happiness by pleasing Krishna, and Krishna experience happiness by pleasing his devotees. When, as Prabhupada mentioned, he enjoys being dependent on his devotee. And we know that from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, when Krishna was playing with cowherd boys, many games in the river bank of Yamuna, and sometimes Krishna gets defeated, sometimes some boys get defeated. And what was the condition? Whoever defeats, he will carry the other party on their shoulder. And Kabir Goswami writes, Kandhe chadhai, kare kridarana, Krishna seve, Krishna karai, apana sevana. He carries Krishna on his shoulder and he makes Krishna to carry on his shoulder, on Krishna's shoulder. And in this way, Krishna seve, Krishna karai, apana sevana. He serves Krishna and he makes Krishna to serve him. Because by doing that, he knows Krishna will please. It is only for Krishna's pleasure. It is nothing to do for his pleasure. Because he is already drowned in the ocean of Krishna consciousness. He doesn't have to do. If somebody drowned in the ocean of bliss, what is any superlative degree beyond bliss? There is no superlative degree. That is the bliss. Nobody can, I don't see any word beyond bliss. And Krishna consciousness is the supreme bliss, as long as one experiences it. And it is said that when Krishna experienced the bliss by serving his devotees, he wanted to experience the highest bliss. And he can't fathom how it has been experienced. That is how he came in form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to experience the highest bliss. So, in Sakhya Rasa we see that devotees are serving Krishna and making Krishna to serve them. And Krishna being the dependent of devotee, he enjoys so much. And then we see that when a devotee attains the higher stage of bhakti, that is Prem Bhakti, he controls Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. And he gives the example of a lively example where everybody can I mean, what do you call? Understand very well. A king sometimes enjoys joker, and joker sometimes insult Krishna at the part of joke. Sorry, insult Krishna king at the part of joke, and king enjoys that even though he's insult. So making Krishna to carry a living entity, it's kind of insult to Krishna only. But Krishna experienced happiness in that. And it's not only that, even the devotees in the higher stage, higher relationship, that is Mother Yashoda, she scold Krishna. And Krishna says, in Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Kabira Goswami says that scolding of the devotees to Krishna is pleasing Krishna more than singing the highest Vedic hymns for the glorification of Krishna. Because those devotees in that higher stage of love of Godhead. And Kabira Goswami says that She Amrutanande Bhakta Saha Dube no Apane Krishna Bhakta Vasagana Kahe Aishwarya Jnani Jane She Amrutananda Bhakta Saha Dube no Apane. That is Amrutananda. Amrutananda means nectarine ocean of bliss. In that, Krishna drowns himself along with the Bhakta. Bhakta saha dubena apane. He himself drowns along with the devotees. And that is why the Aishwarya Jnani Gana, the very scholarly, intelligent man, and all Vedic literatures, they say that Krishna Bhakta Vasa. Krishna is conquered by his devotees. Bhakta Vasa. That's how the great saintly personalities and the great Jnanis sings about this. Then, towards the end, Srila Prabhupada writes that in this way, the relationship eternally existing between the Lord and his devotees is fixed, just like the sky overhead. Just like we see any time, wherever we go, we see the sky always there overhead. Prabhupada gives a lively example. One can connect oneself with this. See, similarly, wherever one may be, the relationship with Krishna is always there, either in dormant way or in awakened way. And somebody may say that, okay, it's good, nice to hear, but how does it relate to a neophyte person like me? How does it relate? These verses all talks about Krishna become the subservient and Krishna become Vasa, or Krishna become controlled or dependent by his devotees, and his pure devotees are happy also by serving Krishna. Krishna Sabe Krishna Karaya Apana Sevana. That's true. But how about me? How far it relates to me? It relates to each one of us. So take home from this verse is every single human being, irrespective of in poor stage or pure stage of Krishna consciousness, must engage in hearing and chanting with all the glories of Krishna, and Krishna's pastimes, and Krishna's name, and Krishna's paraphernalia, and Krishna's fames in the association of devotees. Shrantam Sakatha Krishna, Punya Sramana Kirtana, Rudantoste Vadrani, Vidunoti, Srutsatam. So that is how it is related to us. Srila Prabhupada starts with that verse, if you see in the purport. Shrantam Sakatha Krishna. And then, in this way, what will happen? Kabira Goswami writes, Bhavite Krishna Spuray Antare Krishna Krupai Agyampaye Rasa Sindhu Pare. By thinking of Krishna in this way, by hearing of Krishna constantly in the Sangha of devotees, by hearing Hari Katha, hearing from one another, Matchitta Madgat Prana Bodhanta Paraspara Kathantang Samanitya Tushyanticha Ramanticha. One will not only become happy but become satisfied. And Ramanti is something very, very higher level of Tushyanti. Happiness is even lower. Tushyanti is something like just like happiness and Tushanti, something material example can be given, lively example. Like I like some sweets, so somebody comes and give me sweet, I take it, I'm happy. But when I'm thirsty and I like sweet, somebody gives me nice, soothing, cooling, sweet rabdi, I'm very happy, and that's called Tushanti. Happiness is I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty, I just get sweet, I'm happy. But when I'm looking for it, eagerly hunting for it, I'm getting the best thing for me. That's Tushanti. And Ramanti is very higher stage, very, very higher stage. One cannot think or cannot forget anything else, but only think and completely, what do you call, mesmerized with that, something like that. That's Ramanti. Ramanti, actually, the word is used for Krishna only. Ramanti iti Rama. And we see the word Radha Ramana. So, what happened? Bhabite Bhabite Krishna Spurai Antare. This is very special. Gaurav Goswami writes very simple Bengali language, which can very easily practice. Even Chaitanya Charitamrita is called postgraduate study, but it is also some place or some teachings for the neophytes like me. One can Bhabita means one can just think of. And Spurita means one will, what do you call, remembering. Thinking means putting effort to remember Krishna and coming in the remembrance on its own, spontaneously. That is Spurite. So, in beginning stage, one will start thinking of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says that somebody asked it like, while chanting, what can we think of? How we can think? Srila Prabhupada said that don't think of anything else. Start with hearing the transcendental sound vibration. And then automatically the Nama, Rupa, Lila, everything will be automatically experienced by you. You don't have to endeavor for that. You have to endeavor to hear the holy name. So that is what Vaidhi Bhakti is. Bhabite Bhabite Krishna Spuraye Antare. Not only in the mind but also in the heart. Krishna will be remembered. And then a devotee continue to do that. Then Krishna Kripaye, even Agyam Paye, Rasa Sindhu Pare. Can you imagine? Rasa Sindhu. That is the ocean of nectarian mellows. And one can get into that, or one can get near to, or one can get close into, or one can get into the Rasa Sindhu just by starting with Bhavite Bhavite, thinking of Krishna while chanting the holy name, while hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. While hearing Bhagavatam also, we put effort to hear, because mind goes here and there. When mind goes here and there, the Prabhupada says, forcefully bring it back and focus on Krishna and Krishna's pastime. That is what is our Vaidhi Bhakti. So in this way, a sadhaka will engage in hearing and chanting the holy name and pastimes of Krishna, by which one get completely free from material desires. How one can get completely free from material desires? For people in general, or maybe for somebody who is not well versed with scripture or not practicing devotee, it may appear to be phantasmagoria. It may be appear to be something like bhabuk. भावुक ऐसा लगेगा, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. There can also, it can be also understood through logics and argument. When the heart is filled with material desires, one can think of only material things. But one puts endeavor to think of Krishna constantly. It is just like a bucket of water. In that you are pouring milk. It is already filled with water. You are pouring milk. Keep on pouring milk. Keep on pouring milk. What happens? Within due course of time, all the water will go away. Only pure milk will remain. It takes time. It doesn't have overnight. When one start putting milk, it becomes milk or water mixed with milk. Then slowly it becomes milk mixed with water. And then only water will remain. And that's how, when one starts thinking of Krishna, there are material desires, there are spiritual desires. Material desire full with little spiritual desires. Then slowly and gradually you continue to hear and think of Krishna, then material desire have no place. It will go away a little bit, because spiritual desire is becoming overwhelmed. it become more and more, and then slowly, gradually, material desires completely go, and there will only spiritual desire remain. In that sense, Krishna Kripa, even Agya, people like me, those who are fool, they say, Prabhupada I mean, Prabhupada Goswami says that Krishna Kripa Agya Paye Rasa Sindhu Para. He gets into the mellows of Krishna's pastimes. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the wonderful meaning of understanding or accepting oneself as a servant of Krishna. Jivara Swarupa Hai Krishna Nitya Das. Irrespective of whatever may be, even the mothers of Krishna, even the fathers of Krishna, even the consorts of Krishna, they all considered themselves as servant of Krishna only. The Dasya Bhava remains everywhere. It starts with Dasya Bhava, and all other higher Bhavas include Dasya. It's not that in the higher stage of experiencing mellows of Krishna, one doesn't have to go through the lower stage. No, the lower stage also includes into it. Sakya, Dasya, Sakya. When one experiences Sakya Bhava, there is also Dasya Bhava included in that. Similarly, Santa Bhava, Sakya and Dasya both are there in that. Santa, Dasya, like every Bhava, even the parental love of God, love, in that Sakya, Dasya, Santa, all are there. Sometime Yasodhamara thinks that I should arrange for Krishna something. For what? To serve him. But some other time, out of parental affection, says that I must chastise him. If I don't chastise, he will go and steal butter from everybody's house. We see the whole Damodar Lila took place because of this only. Krishna become conquered by the love of Mother Yasoda. Krishna bound not only by the rope, but the love of Mother Yasoda. And for that pastime, since 5,000 years, every single year, devotees for all time to come is glorifying Krishna as Damodar. And this Damodar pastime is going on. And even in the spirit, in the eternal in spiritual world is going on. It's not that one day it happened, it's every day is going on. And Mother Yasoda is experiencing that bliss, and Krishna is also experiencing the bliss. We see, can you imagine the personality of Godhead who is controlled by every living entity? He is afraid of Mother Yasoda. And here is the Satanka Netram. It is not Bhaya Netram, it is Satanka Netram. Bhaya is something ordinary. Satanka means it is so Atanka. One devotee is explaining, Atanka means in the material sense, to our live example, you can think of. Somebody says that when we'll go through this road, this is not very good. There may be difficulties, there may be danger, there may be some difficulty for you on the path. There are obstacles. There may be thieves, may rob you, may hurt you. So that is Bhaya. But when one is going through forest path to cross another village, and suddenly, out of nothing, in front of him, a lion comes and opens his mouth and roars. That is not Bhaya, that's called Atanka. That is Atanka. One never expected that going to happen. And there is no hope for his living anymore. He will definitely punish him. That's what Krishna's experience at that time. And Krishna, who is controlled by the devotees, who is the controller of even Jamaraj, who can give punishment to the punish giver. He is being afraid of Mother Yasoda, and that too with what? A small stick in hand. And details described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna says that first you put down the stick, then I'll give up my fearfulness. That's what he was afraid. And our Acharya says that it is not that he's acting, it is actually he's experiencing the Atanka. That's what Krishna is being controlled by his pure devotees. So in gist, today we described about how Krishna is described Janardana because he quickly satisfied by the activities of his devotees. And why he quickly satisfied with activities of devotees? Because devotees are always doing Anukulya Sankalpa Pratikulya Varjanam. They are always doing favorable activities towards Krishna consciousness, rejecting unfavorable activities, and always glorifying Him, always wanted to purify themselves. And then we continue to describe about how a person who is full of material desire can purify himself by doing the activity of Shrantam Sukatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, and also by doing Chaitanya Pramarjanam. And then we described about how it has been bona fide and described even and experienced by the Lord Himself. Apani Achari Prabhu Koila Prachar by performing, by practicing on his own. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached that everybody can do this by cleansing Gunija temple, cleansing the heart, to have the Lord sitting on your heart. Mamana Mandire Yashohesh Hari Krishna Murari. And then we described about what will happen by cleansing the heart. One will become free from all the material desires. Then one can constantly experience Lord's presence in the heart. And then we described that when one constantly experiences the Lord, he cannot help himself without surrendering himself. When one constantly hearing about Lord Sarikatha, constantly perceives the Lord's presence in his heart, what else can happen other than surrendering himself? Nothing else can happen. He can simply surrender the Lord. We see in pages of Bhagavatam, what happened to Haridasvas, what happened to Baulasvas, what happened to all other great devotees, those who have preached by Narada Muni. When they constantly heard from him, they can't do anything but surrender to Krishna completely throughout their life. Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, every single personality. That's what happens to everybody. And we discussed about 6 kinds of Saranagati, 6 limbs of Saranagati, described by great acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we also discussed that when a devotee free from material desire, he doesn't have any material desire, only desire to surrender to Krishna, he drowns himself into the ocean of bliss, Ananda Samudra Magna. And then we discussed from Chaitanya Charitamrita also how the devotee, out of his love, he conquers Krishna, that in any rasa, starting from Sakya rasa to all the rasas, Krishna becomes conquered and Krishna becomes servant of his servant. In this way, both Krishna and his devotee be happy. And Kaviraj Goswami writes, says that, Se Amrita Sindhu Bhakta Saha Dubena Apane. In that, and even the Damodar Shtakam describes Ananda Kunde, Nimajjantam. If you want to, and whatever way Satyavadman is saying that, whatever you are hearing over here, it is very small thing. It is kind of jhalak for the whole story. If you want to drown himself into the ocean of bliss, you have to see the whole movie. That is in Golak Vrindavan. Are you ready? Come here. So in this way, we concluded today by discussing about, for sadhaka, one should engage in hearing and chanting the holy name, pastimes Krishna, by which slowly and gradually, bhavite Krishna, spuraye antare. One day, will constantly think of Krishna in his heart. And in this way, Krishna krupaye, even agya paye, rasa sindhu pare. Even agya, people like me, those are fools, they can also experience the rasa sindhu, the mellows of the ocean of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We request this Ananda Prabhu. If any corrections, please correct. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantharaj and Bhagavat Mahapuran ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol.